Hi, and welcome to Influence Colorist. This will be a drawing and coloring video. Even though I teach a drawing and coloring class to kids, I enjoy the coloring more. So I'm hoping to work on my drawing skills. Johanna Basford's How to Draw Inky Wonderlands is a step-by-step drawing guide to all her wonderful creations, perfect for any skill level. I live in the desert and the wildflowers have been beautiful this last month. Now it's reaching 100 degrees, so they won't last much longer. I'll be using this book and taking inspiration from the unique plants and flowers in my area for my drawing. This is a book I picked in my 5 books in quarantine tag video. Now it's time to break it open. The book is broken up into 3 sections: garden, ocean, and forest. Obviously no desert, but I'm going to go through and find shapes that will work for my concept. Here's the garden section, and you can see how there are lots of different flower shapes here. And there's ideas for doing wreaths and borders and little clusters of flowers. And then you get into bigger concepts of doing full pages. I love all the little bugs and insects. Okay, so I flagged this page. I think there's some good shapes in here that I can use for some of my flowers. And over here you can see it's all step by step. Some of these bigger flowers I think will be perfect for my prickly pear. Okay, this is the ocean section. Lots of little fish. I love the little underwater scenes with the anchor. And see, over here you do step by step. I love the idea of starting small and then working your way up to these bigger concepts. So she shows you how to start with simple shapes and then just building upon those shapes. And again, you can do something small or you can do something big. Oh, look at this little jar with the treasures, how cute. Okay, I like this octagon shape. I think I might use that as a tile or something in the background. Beautiful frames. Oh, seashells. Okay, so this is the one that I think I'm going to use these 3 jars. Different size jars though, I can adapt those or modify those. No ship in a bottle, but I think it would be a cute little concept to have maybe some different cactus or agave plants coming up into the bottle. Okay, now here's the forest section. So we have more like green foliage, mushrooms, things like that. So again, starting small and then building up into different concepts. This is a unique flower, kind of reminds me of something you would find in the desert. Arizona actually has a very diverse landscape. We have the desert and we have a lot of grasslands and also mountain ranges. So we do have quite a bit of forest in our area. Okay, here's some different ferns, different kinds of leaves. Nice borders, a big tree. Ooh, I love the owl. So cute. Okay, I'm hoping I can add a little bird to my drawing. We also have very unique birds here too. One of them is a quail. I think I might be able to adapt one of these little birds and put the little curly Q on top of his head. Alright, that's the end. And I think I have a good idea of some concepts I can use for my drawing. So the concept I am going to draw is going to be 3 bottles with a cactus and some flowers inside those bottles. They're going to range in different sizes. So I'm going to use a big eraser and add a guideline with that eraser down the middle. I'm not a perfectionist, so I just kind of eyeball things. And this line down here is going to be my line where my jars are going to stop at the bottom. So here's a little example of Johanna's drawing. So she just starts out with a rectangle and then adds the little top of the bottle. So my first one is going to be my biggest one. It's going to be tall, and then I'm also going to change the shape of it slightly. Okay, so I'm going to draw lightly first, and then I can go over it once I have it complete. And now I'm going to do the neck of the bottle. So just as even as I can, right on top of that line. And this is going to have more of a dome shape. I want it to resemble more of a jug than a bottle, I guess. So I'm going to do this nice arch right on top of the neck of the bottle. And then I'm going to expand the sides. So I'm going to mark a little bit on each side of how wide I want it to come out. And then I'm just going to do a soft curved line to meet that little dash mark there. Darken up my lines. And then I can take my bigger eraser and I'm just going to erase all of those inside lines. Okay, I'm going to speed up the video now while I add the other 2 bottles. So this one's going to be my shortest bottle, and it's going to be more of a square shape. And then I'll add the neck of the bottle. Erase that inside line. And this is going to be my medium-sized bottle, so it's going to fill up the rest of my space. And add the neck. And I'm modifying the top just a little bit here as kind of a swooping line from the neck to the edge of the bottle. I'm going to extend that top neck of the bottle up a little bit higher. And now I'm going to add the little rims on the tops of each bottle. I think I'll add one more here just to make it a little bit different. And this bottle is also going to have a thicker glass line. So I'll do a little border all the way around, leaving the bottom a little bit thicker. And this one is going to have a little handle. Remember, I said I wanted it to look more like a glass jug. So I'm going to add where I want that handle and erase those inside lines. And to give it a little dimension, I'm just going to add a ground line. Okay, so I'm going to start with this first bottle here. And well, first actually I'm going to add the little sand inside each of the bottles. So each one's going to look a little bit different, just adding some curved lines. This one's going to have a few more layers. Okay, now for my agave plant. So my center line, each kind of these thick leaf shapes are going to come out of the center line. Kind of think of a V shape. And so your next one will start out the center. And it's just going to fill up this little bottle. And then I'm going to have this tall stalk. So I put a picture up here for some of you who may not know what an agave is. It has this tall stalk that goes up the middle and almost looks like a tree, the blooms on it. So I'll draw it. It's going to look kind of like a coat hanger at first. Okay, these little stems and then these little flowers that are going to sit on top. So I found this flower in the book, and I think that kind of resembles the little flowers that are attached to the stems. Okay, I'm going to do another type of agave over here. And I'm going to start with this kind of arrow shape. That's just going to help me when I do each of these leaf patterns. I know how high to come up and kind of the shape I want it to form. That one wasn't quite right in my in between, so I want to get that one more in between those two. Okay, and then I'll just erase my little guidelines in there. Okay, one of my favorite flowers is this desert penstemon, and they kind of grow out of a center point there. As you can see, these tall stalks with kind of a little trumpet shaped flower on the stems. And I liked this drawing, so I'm gonna kind of draw that same kind of center line, place where my little flowers are gonna come to. Those are a little bit more bell-shaped. I'm going to have mine a little bit more what I'm going to call trumpet shape, more triangular. So I'm going to thicken up the stalks here. I added some little buds at the top, and then the little stems, the flowers kind of grow side by side, so they're not really staggered too much. So let me finish this little agave first, and he's got some spikes on one end, so I'm going to do a little zigzag pattern over my first line, and then I'm going to add a skinny line down the middle of each of these shapes. Okay, back to the flowers. I'm going to add a variation of these trumpet style petals. So some will be very triangular with the little scalloped edges, and then some are going to be more of the face of the flower. So I'm just doing a simple little circle and then petals around, and then attaching a triangle or cone shape to the stem. Okay, and then it has some little leaves kind of in the middle of the stalk here. I'll finish this stem. Add the little leaves and then the bigger leaves. So remember, they grow kind of from the midpoint of this big greenery. Okay, now for my prickly pear. So this one is going to have a couple different sections and some nice big flowers. So here's a picture of one of the flowers I'll be using. You can vary the petal shape. So you always first start with the center of the flower and then work your way out. So I did the little center and then the little circles around, and then I'm doing the bigger petals. So the petals can vary. It can look more heart shape. It can look more, I think she described it like a tooth shape, which is kind of what I think about when I'm drawing it. Okay, add my little spikes. And I'm going to add one little poppy that's kind of growing right next to it. And this one is going to be a little kind of pincushion or little barrel cactus here. We went hiking a few weeks ago and we were up more in a mountain ranges, and you have to watch where you step because it was very rocky, but there would be these random little cactus, and you would watching for big rocks, and then all of a sudden you see this little tiny cactus. They're so cute. Okay, Johanna always adds a little insect or something in her drawings, so I had to add this little bee that maybe flew into the jug. But don't worry, we'll find a way for him to get out. Okay, I'm going to take a few fine liners, and these are going to just trace over all my pencil lines. And I haven't had these too long, but I feel like they are starting to run out on me, and the tip size isn't necessarily what it should be. So it may just because I've used them more and they're wearing out. But I was trying to do most of my outlining, the jars and some of the bigger leaves with a bigger tip, and then obviously the little tiny areas with a finer tip, but you really couldn't tell the difference. And when you're doing these bigger overlapping leaves, just make sure you know which one you want in front and which one you want behind, so you're not drawing through each leaf. And now I'm just going to take a big eraser and erase all the pencil lines. Alright, so going through the book, I had seen this octagon shape, and it reminded me of some terracotta tiles that we have in Arizona. Very popular, normally on the floor, but we're going to add this decorative wall behind. So I just traced that shape and then cut it out on some cardstock, and now I'm going to use it as my template. I'm going to trace all the way around, even going into the jars. And if you go over the plants, that's fine because they've already been inked, so you can easily erase them. But I do want to see the lines behind the glass. That when I color, they won't be as vibrant, but I still need to know where the shape is. And again, I'm not a perfectionist. I'm not using a ruler. I'm just kind of eyeballing it, and it's fine for me. Okay, now in between the larger tiles, I'm going to add these little accent diamond-shaped tiles. Okay, I'll use the Fineliners again and just outline around all of these shapes, except I'm not going to outline inside the glass. So just stop right at the glass, and then make sure you're not drawing through the flowers too. Okay, I'm going to use my little eraser and erase in some of the flowers and around the tiles, but I don't want to erase inside of the jars, not just yet. Here's the colors I'll be using for my first plant. And I'm going to start out with this agave. Remember the flowers on it were these kind of bright yellow and oranges. So I start with the lightest yellow, and then down towards the bottom of the flower I use a more golden yellow. The stalk is going to be a nice dark brown. And the plant itself is going to be a teal color. I just love the color combination of brown, teal, and yellow. So I'm taking my kind of a darker teal color, and I'm laying that on first. A little heavier pressure down at the ends and around the edges. And then I'm taking my Prismacolor, it's a teal, lighter teal color, and I'm using that to kind of help blend and make it a little bit brighter. And then I go back over with the darker one just to re-emphasize that shadow area. So again, just kind of laying a base coat of that darker teal, nice and light, working in with that lighter teal, and I just kind of go back and forth until I get that nice smooth blend. Okay, these are the colors I'll be using for my next jar. And I'm going to start with the flowers. I'm going to do a light pink flower and then a darker pink shade towards the stalk of the flower. And then as it gets to the ends of the flowers, the tops of the petals, it's going to have a more yellow highlight to it. So again, I go back and forth between the light and the dark, making those shadows, that contrast between the light and the dark. And then adding the yellow, just kind of blending those colors together, and it adds just a bright highlight at the ends. Okay, for the leaves, I'm going to use kind of a medium shade green, yellow, and a dark green. So most of it I'm just coloring all over in this kind of medium to light green, leaving the tops not completely colored in, because then I'm going to come in with the yellow, add that little bit of highlight, and then I can add my darker green for the shadows underneath some of the leaves and at the base of the stems. And then just blending it with that light to medium shade green. Adding more yellow if I need a brighter highlight. Okay, this agave is going to have yellow and green. I made that center line more of a thinner stripe than a thicker stripe than the picture, but I wanted more yellow in the picture, so I just thinned out that middle line. So I'm going to start with a lighter yellow, and then the medium shade yellow is going to go into the bottom and top of that leaf shape. And then I'm going to add a more golden color right down there in the middle sections or bottom sections. And then just smooth and blend that out with the lighter one. So same with the green, I'm just gonna leave the middle part the lightest. So I'm coming in and doing kind of one shade, and then the darker shade is going to be at the top and bottom, and then blend it out. Okay, so my stones are just going to be multiple shades of some browns and reddish brown colors. Okay, this is probably the most colorful. This will be my prickly pear jar. Okay, here's a picture of a prickly pear flower. They actually have a wide variety of colors, so not just yellow and orange, also some reds and purples, pinks, lots of different colors. So I'm going to start with a kind of a chartreuse, really bright green for the center, add yellow for the little pollen center, and shade with just a really light orange. And I'm just going to do kind of a light yellow base color over the petals. That will help for easy blending. And I think I'll start with my darkest. This is kind of like a dark reddish orange. And I'm going to go towards the center of the flower, working my way up, pressing hard at first and then lighter pressure as it goes out. Okay, and then a medium orange just to kind of blend those, but still leaving the very ends uncolored. Okay, my light orange, blending those colors together. And then the yellow will blend everything out and really highlight the very tips of the petals. So my prickly pear is going to have 3 colors, green, teal, and purple. And so I'm just doing a light layer of each color first where I want them placed. So it's going to start green, the middle is going to be more teal, and then the very top is going to be this purple shade. So I just try to get my base layer first and placement of my colors, and then I can start kind of gradually blending into the other color. And I'll just go back and forth between these colors, making it a little bit darker each time I add a layer. And I do that until I just feel like it's right. It's nice and smoothed out, and the blend is good. I want the colors to be very vibrant, so I have to keep going over back and forth between the colors to get that nice smooth blend. And I just keep pressing harder and harder on the pencil. And eventually it gets to where I want it. I'm also going to add a little bit of this indigo blue color here, just for a shadow, and I just love the blue inside the purple too. This layered sand reminds me of that art, the sand art in the jars, where you take a jar and then you have all those different color sands and you can layer them, like at fairs and stuff, but that's what this reminds me of. Okay, this is going to be for my terracotta tiles now. So I'm just going to outline with some different, well, they're very terracotta colors, some like orangey browns. Outline, just do a nice light base color all over. I'm not going to color inside those glass jars yet, so I'll show you what I do in a minute. But I'm just gonna, again, just do a light color of each of these colors, concentrating more on the edge. I want the edges to be darker and kind of coming out from the edges into the corners. And then I'll use this goldeny yellow to kind of highlight the center of the tile. Blend it with a Prisma. This is kind of a skin tone, but I'm also going to use that color for behind the glass. So we can see behind or see through the glass, but I want it to look a little bit more frosted or just not as vibrant. So I'm following along my pencil lines, and I'm just going to do it really lightly so you can see just a hint of that tile behind. And then I'll take my electric eraser, erase the pencil line, and it kind of fuzzes out the pencil line to the color pencil line. So I'll just recolor that in till I think I have it as dark as I need it to be. Okay, I'll finish up these tiles in speed mode. Okay, and for these accent tiles, I'm just going to take this kind of dark indigo blue color, do a light shade here on the outside of the bottles. And then I'll take this light blue Prismacolor and blend all that in. The Prismacolor really kind of mushes all those colors together. I like how it kind of leaves it like a glossy look too. And then for behind the glass, I'm going to take that lighter blue shade. Again, follow along the same pencil lines and get it to the color that you want. So I want just a little bit more blue in there. And then again, take the eraser, erase the pencil line, and kind of blur out those edges. And here you go, here's the background. So now I'm just going to do the ground. I'll do this really fast too. I wanted kind of a concrete look, so it didn't have to be super smooth for me. I'm just doing like a dark gray and a light gray. All right, all done. And I think I did a good job of modifying the Inky Wonderlands to some desert plant life. Thanks for watching.